and welcome back to Rebel Geek, where we are here to inspire geeky creativity. I am your host, Belle Diepa. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I went to San Diego Comic-Con in July, and we're in September. So I'm really sorry. This is a little late, but I promise you what I have in store is really exciting. So while we were at SDCC, Brandazzo and I had the opportunity to meet different people. You guys saw the Batman video that he had posted back in August. Well, I had the opportunity to interview Janie Hendrix, the sister of Jimi Hendrix, who helped a couple of writers who created a really cool graphic novel about Jimi Hendrix. So there is a new graphic novel by Titan Comics coming out called Purple Haze. And the artwork is gorgeous. It is very sci-fi, so it's not like it's autobiographical, but I had the opportunity to talk to Janie, and I wanted to show you guys the interview. So I hope that you guys enjoy it.
Podcast, so I'm just not used to being on the other side of this.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The comic is super cool.
Awesome.
It's awesome. So Jimi Hendrix, it's so cool to talk to like a person who knew him intimately, because like as an outsider, I kind of overheard you guys talking about like Prince and Jimi Hendrix, and like to me these are people that like they literally are superheroes. So I feel like it lends itself well into like this comic book type of interview, like this comic book type of genre. So my first question is, why make a comic book about Jimi Hendrix?
Why not?
Yeah.
True, yeah.
I mean, so really like Jimmy was into sci-fi. He loved to read comic books. He liked to draw. Before he picked up a guitar, he picked up a pen, and he wanted to be a commercial artist. So my dad kept all his drawings and paintings, and he continued doing doodles and had kind of like journals that he drew in, or even if he were writing lyrics to a song, he would doodle different things. It was just something that he liked to do. So doing a graphic novel, and also, as Ben says, there's little Easter eggs in here that have kind of essence or even parts of Jimmy's own drawings that are in here. So I think that this book it would make him proud. It did him justice. I feel like he was cutting edge. He was doing his own music. He used to tell people, don't try to put me in a box of rock or blues or whatever, because you would only frustrate yourself and me. Mm-hmm. And so we just call it the Hendrix sound. Mm-hmm. And also, his iconic fashion wear was amazing. Most people do mix stripes and florals and but a lot of his inspiration for his clothing came from our grandma. She was in vaudeville. So the velvets and the trinkets and the hats and the feathers and all of that, he loved to play in her kind of stage clothes that she had in a trunk, and so he would try things on, and I think that's kind of what inspired him later in life to have stage wear, because a lot of times people get dressed up. Yeah. But I feel like the novel really does capture all that kind of past, present, and future, and how Jimmy was really like trying to save the universe and save us, and also teach us along the way, which I really feel in real life he did do that.
Yeah. And just on that, to piggyback off of that, like Jimmy trying to like save us and teach us, how does that lend itself into like the writing of the comic book and like this hero? Like, what are some elements in the comic book? I feel like in fiction, you have a lot of leeway to talk about real serious issues that people go through. Whether I know, Jimmy was around at a time when you have like segregation and you still have these issues of like racism. Do you have some of this within the book, and how are you able to use the graphic novel to kind of tackle these real life themes?
Well, one of the main things that we took from real life was when Jimmy formed the Band of Gypsies, and when he put that album out, and he was basically like reconnecting with his blackness. And on that album, there's a lot of like protest music, and not just protest music, but like Message to Love is on there, where he's really talking about love. And then there's also, at the same time, there's also Machine Gun on there. And I love Machine Gun so much because it begins and he's like, shout out to the soldiers in Chicago and the people fighting in Chicago. Oh yeah, and the guys in Vietnam too. But you know, it's like, first we're fighting a war at home, you know, every day of our lives. And so he was well aware of that. And that was something that we wanted to really talk about with this book. And like Janie said, when we started the book, even it was during the middle of COVID, and there's all the protests going on. And I personally just come from a family of people who were involved in the civil rights movements, who are very much aware of, you know, our place. And when that was your other question, it ties it together, is when you say, why write about Jimi? And it was like, it was really important for me personally to write about Jimi and make sure that this book in some way helps to contribute to letting people know of his place in history and how much he means to music and to Black music, and how that's affected pretty much everything, because Black music has such an effect on American culture, and through American culture, through the world culture. So I just felt like it was very important, and I felt like his story and his essence lends so well into this tale of people fighting against fascism, you know, and that's something that is, as we see right now, it's sadly a universal thing. It doesn't, you know, it's not relegated just to the 1960s. It's something that happens and goes on every day.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And so Jimi Hendrix has he has such a beautiful, specific sound. He's made his mark in history. But one of the things when I think about Jimi Hendrix is that I feel like his sound is very visual. Like, I can see the sound. How do you translate that into like a comic book, which I feel like it'd be easy because it is a visual medium?
Well, that was definitely, I have to give a lot of props and respect to Tom Mandrake, who's our artist, because Tom is just a genius and he's a legend in the industry. So it was like, it was an honor to work with him, first off. And then it was, as a comic book head, as someone who's read so many comics, and there's not a lot of comics that contain music. And so then there's not a lot of comics that contain or talk about Black music. And so we wanted to, and when they do, there's a lot of tropes and things that people rely on, and that was one of our first conversations with me and Tom. And we're like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to see the squiggly notes floating. We want to try and figure out a way of showing music that if it hasn't been done before, or if it has been done before, to expand on what has been done before and to make it something, you know, uniquely our own. And so I think we did that, and hearing it from Janie, honestly, when she says that we captured, you know, things of that nature, is just the greatest thing, because this is our first time seeing this book like this, like seeing the actual graphic novel. So, and it's our first time hearing from people who've read it, and this is my first time meeting Janie in person, and like just all of these things are all like, wow, that's, you know, I think we, you know, really accomplished something.
Thank God for Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Because we at least got to see each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
What role did you play in helping them in writing it? Like, how did you like advise them? How did this relationship work?
Well, when after a promise made that Jimi and I made to each other that we would take care of each other, and I didn't think he was no longer going to be here, but he's here in spirit. So I do all the posthumous releases. I do everything that has to do with Jimi to keep his music and his legacy alive. So we had conversations. I like to tell stories. I like to share like adventures that Jimi and I had, or things that would happen when he came home. And I think that part of that was inspirational. We have a archive site of Jimi's drawings, paintings, a lot of photos, which we encourage very hardly in a very tough way, that please do not go surfing on the internet for other photos. Just use the ones we own.
Yeah.
You can be inspired, but you know, it's just because, so we supplied all of that, you know. We own all the music, the lyrics, Jimmy's imagery, and then also like there were photos on our site of some of his clothing, and so all of that I think was inspirational. And then we brainstormed, and they would go away, and I'd go do whatever I was doing on different projects. I said we saved a lot of money during COVID because there was no flying around or staying in hotels, but we never stopped working and did a lot of things virtually. Then we come back and let's see what you got, and there's a little tweaking here and there. I was very much involved in no, yes. You always have to do, you have to give the flowers and the yeses first, but then there is some no's, which, I know that doesn't make people happy, but I think that in the end it came out beautifully, and it was worth every blood, sweat, and tear that made it happen.
So I have 2 more questions.
No problem.
The first one is, what would Jimmy think of this comic?
Oh,
Shit.
I think he would. I really think that he would love it. He loved sci-fi, and to see yourself as an animated superhero. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why when we were working on kind of the ad for the Purple Haze book, there was just some random music that was put to it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is authorized. We're going to use real music, Jimmy's music. And so there's Astro Man, which he did, flying higher than that old Superman. We won't say the word. But
I was like, wow, Jimmy.
We did not use that part in the ad. But anyways, no, it's just about the authenticity of it. And Jimmy and my dad were very much into like, what would happen if a spaceship landed? Yeah, I would get in it. Yeah, me too. We want to see what's on the other side. So it's just like he was very much into sci-fi, and that's, I think that, she has one more question. She's almost done. Don't worry. So yes, I think he would love it. The long and short answer, sorry.
And I just second that because, you knowing him, and you, like I said, when I hear that from you, it's just like, wow, that's amazing. And I think so too. I think because one of the main bits of research I did was read this, one of his autobiographies that had a lot of his notes and letters. It had letters, I think, to you in it. It just had letters back to the family. It was all kind of things. And he talked about sci-fi, and he talked about resistance, and his music was all these things. I think we took so much inspiration from his lyrics and from his music that I think that hopefully it represents him well enough where he would love it. Yeah.
And then my final question, which is a 60-second lightning round. What does "Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky" mean? 60 seconds. 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I might go over. So Jimmy was 101st Airborne. He was a paratrooper. So even like up from the skies are the sounds that he heard when he jumped from the planes. He did several jumps. So, first of all, Purple Haze, the song, the radio play was it was dumbed down, I'll just say it that way, because the original version, which his handwritten lyrics are at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it talks really about a baby in the womb and other things that have to do with being born and a rebirth. So I think Jimmy's lyrics are interpreted by whoever listens to it and whatever they're hearing. And, some songs do have reference to other people or things that were going on in his life. But then what does it mean to you? I really look at it that way. And he really wanted people to hear his music and feel it and make it like part of their journey and their story, because it was definitely a soundtrack of my life. So
amazing.
I'm going to go with that answer. I don't think there's a better one than that one.
That's great. Oh my God, thank you so much.
All right, guys. I hope that you guys really like that interview. I love speaking to both Janie and Benjamin, who super interesting, super cool. And I really enjoyed their approach to the Jimi Hendrix story and how they were looking at, Jimi Hendrix, what he wanted to do was to save us all. And I personally believe that art, things like books and stories, really can help us to become who we want to be, to help us figure out who we are and how we can help create a better life for ourselves and create a better world so that we could all live. Because let's be honest, none of us came to this earth to suffer. It's my new favorite saying. So yeah, thank you so much for checking this out. Please remember to like and subscribe. That would really help the algorithm, and it would help other friendly fans who are looking to be inspired by some geeky creativity to find these videos. All right, thanks so much, guys. Take care. Bye.